welcome back to Next Wave Conversations, brought to you by Innovate GPT, where we're all about shaping tomorrow with Gen AI. I'm your host, Chris Lukianenko, and today we're diving into the dynamic world of influencer marketing. Joining me today is none other than Jules Lund, the founder of Tribe and a pioneer in bridging the gap between social influencers and brands. His work in building out his groundbreaking influencer marketplace saw him lead the charge in that space and has made a significant impact on how we view digital marketing today. We'll explore the evolution of influencer marketing. We'll delve into AI's role in that space and uncover Jules's journey from a celebrated broadcaster to a tech entrepreneur. Who am I kidding? These are my plans. I'm thinking he's going to hijack them and do whatever he wants to. He's the more experienced broadcaster, so we'll probably go in whatever direction he wants. So, mate, welcome aboard. Jules Lund.
I would thank you for that amazing intro, but I know you didn't write it. It was just all Gen AI.
That's okay. That's what this is about. Gen AI is helping us in everything that we do, and all of my podcast planning and prep is all, it's dropped me from like a 10-hour per episode sort of pre-thing to, I don't know, half an hour.
Couldn't figure out where I could park though, could you?
No. Oh, hold on. Here we go. Here's the $20 I said I'd give you for the parking.
Thank you. This is Melbourne, CBD. I tell you what, stingy pricing.
Tech billionaire that needs me to pay for his parking.
That's true, mate. God. I'm not getting anything out of this other than catching up with an old friend. What do I have to pay to populate his content channels?
So full disclosure, listeners, I used to work for Tribe right up until I said to Jules I had to go because I found my dream job.
Oh, bullshit. I fired you.
My dream job lasted 3 months and he didn't try and stop me. So what does that tell you about? That was 2021. So this is the first time we've been face-to-face since then because of
you've aged.
Yeah, thanks. I was thinking that this morning I was going to say that to you, but your hair's definitely gone greyer.
Yeah, thanks.
A lot to catch up on with Tribe. Tell me everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, that's it. I'm done. Go storyteller.
Wow, that's the laziest opening question in the history of podcasting.
I've been listening to your Disrupt Radio lately, and I don't think that's the pot calling the kettle black.
I don't put any effort in. You're right. But then again, I have 2 hours a day and I can be lazy. You've only got like 29 minutes of...
I've got 9 podcasts this week. We're almost doing the same amount of work.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, tell you everything since you left. Oh, geez, it got so much better. Everyone was... I mean, the culture just boomed.
Yeah, look, for those that don't know Tribe, this is Jules's labour of love from back in
because I'm not making any money out of it.
Well, like you sort of went from, back in your radio days and winning the Fox competition, really started within a short amount of time, and it seems like a short amount of time from the outside looking in. You were on the global stage speaking at South by Southwest, launching this influencer market and really changing the way that, digital marketing was going to market.
Yeah. As they say, being ahead of fashion is just as expensive as being late. And I must say that in many ways, what we have pioneered is still only, after 10 years having conceived it, only coming to fruition now in the way that I imagine it. And in some ways, I still believe that marketers are still not really understanding the true potential of working with creators. In the early stages, we called them influencers because there was no better term, but they very much are creators. They create content. Out of the 2 value propositions early on of an influencer might have 1 million followers, right? And, the value was their reach, their influence, their trust, their engaged community. But the other piece on top of that was actually this amazing storytelling. Now, early on, it was pretty crappy. They were holding up teeth whitening trays next to their head. And I always hated that. But I loved those micro creators that had built these audiences based on beautiful recipes or parenting skills or amazing ways to sort of turn your outfits out of, vintage wear. Or I always loved true creatives. And yes, they had built these audiences on social, but it was about unlocking those at scale. And so whilst people sort of went down the route of building an agency, if we were going to enable a brand to work with 50, 100 of these, the only way to do that was to get out of manual processes like emails and phone calls and actually create some really sophisticated and powerful technology. And that was sort of how we zigged when everyone else zagged. In the end, a lot of brands are still going, I just want to work with 5 of them, not 500, which is absurd. But, when you've got the tech and the team and services like Tribe to be able to unlock huge amounts of value. It's still taking marketers a bit of time to get their head around it.
Yeah, you talked about being like too early. Like we're having those discussions now in terms of Gen AI as well. That you like your ideas can be amazing. Maybe the tech's not quite there yet, or it's part of the way there.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go too early with something and put something out there that may have a negative impact.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that maybe that's because at the start you had to deal with not only the fact that your tech wasn't quite ready and this was a new idea, there was a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe the Kardashian effect around an influencer where people were turned off to it a little bit until they understood there was a difference between an influencer and a creator.
Oh, man. I mean, I spent, I'm going to say the first 6 or 7 years trying to say, no, that's not what we're talking about here. That's not the value. It's not like these people that have like, fake followers.
Yep.
They've got these bot enhancements, and also the Kardashians have butt enhancements. Like, it was, and these fake lips. And there was a whole world on the other side of that we kept shining a light on. And only now people are going, it's called the creator economy. These people are real amazing creatives. And the output is actually like personalized storytelling at scale.
Yep.
And I can break that down later. But it's interesting. It's sort of the last 10 years of watching others jump at the new shiny toy, at times me jumping at a new shiny toy, has made me quite reticent to throw myself in when new trends or opportunities come up. And AI sits within that. And so my approach to AI has potentially been too conservative in some ways.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of pressure from investors and the board around NFTs. And
really?
Yeah. And I
never understood those.
I never understood. I'm a content guy, and it was actually about literally protecting rights around content. And I still was like, this seems weird and it's not really ticking the boxes on what I believe are fundamental needs.
Yep.
I felt like there was a whole industry telling us it was going to be great, but consumers themselves, even young people, this is great for young people, and the young people themselves they weren't driving it. Whereas most other trends, especially those that are going to be owned by, the younger generations, if they're not setting the pace, it was like old people telling them, you're going to love this. That's genuinely what it felt like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just, and then also industry and brands and celebrities are all saying they're all got FOMO and they're all scrambling over each other, but there was just nothing behind it. And so I've watched that happen with many innovations. I have been talking at conferences for 10 years now about, content creation at scale. And I've seen whatever was the hype that year. 1 year it was voice assistants. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The fight between Amazon and Google and Apple.
Yep.
Everyone had all these voice assistants, and, like it was a fight over the lounge room, whoever was going to use the voice assistants. And again, it was technology driving and highlighting a need that the audience or the consumers weren't even interested in, and in this country were highly skeptical of. And so I heard everyone say, you've got to have your sonic sound for your brand, and this is the big thing. And then it just was like vapor and just faded away.
Disappeared, hasn't it? Yeah.
So in my world, I think it's really dangerous when you get super highly motivated and you drop your business as usual and your North Star to jump at bullshit that can actually be just hot air.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is because we talk about AI, and I know that's not hot air, but I am also not going to be the first to go in there and spend all my time and money telling my customers what they need to do or telling my creators what they should be doing better. My team, I'm just starting to see some of the dust settle on hearing what they're asking.
The good news is you're not first. We spoke just recently about, you've had a busy 12 months with Disrupt Radio and yada, 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 all this stuff that you haven't probably given Gen AI maybe the attention it could deserve potentially.
Well, you tell me if it deserves it.
Well, I think it does.
Pitch me today, young man.
No, what I'm thinking, I want to know for you right now is, do you think it deserves your attention right now with what you've been seeing lately with some of the models that are coming out that really do play into your space? I think for you.
Yes and no, like Sora.
Yeah, saw it, but also like even the idea of, I know with you, you've got brands on one side, you've got the creators on the other, and there's a process that they go through to, pitch ideas and that sort of thing. I feel like there's an element here with generative AI that maybe on the creator side that they could do some research around their brands to help them create plans.
Well, let's turn this into a brainstorm then. Yeah. Because we have actually got AI within the product itself.
Correct, but not using generative AI.
No, we're not using generative AI. We're using, the ability to match brands and their brief with the most relevant creators within our platform. Should I sort of give a bit of an overview of what Tribe does?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Told you he'd hijack this.
No, but the point is like people won't understand where we're heading unless they understand the foundation. So very simply, brands have an issue. They have gone very quickly from creating a TV ad or a radio ad or billboards and building some assets once a year through a creative agency to social media and digital advertising, where not only do they have to have a whole variety of content because there's
a lot of it,
far more channels, it suffers ad fatigue.
Yeah.
So, and also the greatest gift of our generation in social media advertising is being able to target precise audiences with precise messaging.
Yep.
Now, precise messaging means that, if I'm advertising some Nike products, I can actually target someone, who's into Pilates, send them something with a product they need at a time I know they need it. Likewise, I can be sending it to different ethnicities in Pilates, different ages, different needs, different genders, you name it. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, rather than sort of Nike just going, "Oh, just do it," and putting one billboard up, they've now got to create social media content, right, for all their different products. And then you've got to do it through all the different verticals of tennis and golf and et cetera. Mm-hmm. So not only do you need a high variety of content, but as I said, with ad fatigue, you need high volume because you never turn this stuff off.
Yes. Yep.
And so brands are like, shit, how do we now extend those stories and do that at scale and personalize them, right? And so they can't go to their agency anymore because it costs too much and takes too long.
Yep.
So you need a new creative solution. And it just so happens it's the first time in history their own customers actually have a smartphone, which is a creative agency in their pocket, or at least a creative studio. And so what we try to do is turn their most talented customers or even their most talented advocates, brand fans, even their staff members into their creative community to be able to generate all these amazing stories in short form video. And so that's a really difficult thing because on one side you need something that takes what the brands do and writes up a brief. The other side you need app so that you can have thousands of these people seeing these briefs, responding to them, saying, "Hey, you're doing Pilates. I actually have a Pilates class. I'm going to film myself doing it at home, while my little baby's asleep to show my versatility as a young mum. And I'm going to do that." And I'll say, "Yeah, all right, we'll give you a few $100. And next thing you know it, they've got like a 90-second video that is a real person authentically describing how those products are great for them.
So that idea generation at that point where they're working with a brand, I think is where maybe you could start to filter into your business.
Yeah.
So, my experience with generative AI is fairly new, but the whole thing for me is you provide with a whole bunch of information, it crunches it for you and can be that creative idea generation to help you, create better images or whatever. And also as part of that, potentially if you're pitching to a brand, you can get it to create some some draft images and those sorts of things as well. So I think that whole process, which can be quite time consuming, it can be quite nerve-wracking if someone's like got writer's block or whatever, to help you start to think about those kinds of ideas. It might be more for the creators, but it might also be a reverse brief idea for your brands where they can do a similar sort of thing.
Do you want to break it up?
Yeah.
Because I'd love you to go in depth on each one of those things in a little bit more detail.
Yep.
So step one is the brand goes, "I need to sell yoga mats to 20 to 30-year-old females in Australia."
Yep.
They could effectively go in, and this is not, you specialize in generative AI, but what about the Chat GPT version of coming up with ideas?
Yeah, so that's the same stuff. Yep, so same. So in that case there, you've got a market research element. So 22-year-old yoga?
20 to 30-year-old females.
Who are they? What do they do? What are they like? Can you go out into the wide world and research me? You've got elements around tone of voice. So that, the next step is once you've started to use the the publicly available stuff to do those kinds of research and either provide you back insights on that market or provide you back with some ideas that can then be generated through the creator sphere to create the actual end, 90-second video or whatever it might be. That's one element. But then think of it if you created the private element of this. So GPT out there is only accessing publicly available information, but each one of the brands that you're working with also have marketing collateral from the past. They've got tone of voice documentation, all these things that makes their brand what it is.
Sales data.
What if you overlaid all of that private information, which can remain private in the various cloud solutions around the place, and you combine that with the publicly available information to create better insights, more tailored and bespoke stuff for the brand to be able to then provide to the creator, this is what I want and this is who I really am and this is how you should speak about me.
So it spits out an idea, and the idea, it says
10 ideas.
Well, let's just go with one.
Yeah.
A great insight is that this audience loves to get up early on the weekend and do yoga as the sun rises.
Yep.
Great. Awesome. Let's do that. And in a nice outdoors area.
Yep.
So that it can go, right, spit out a brief for exactly that. Then it says, right, the best audience for those is actually getting 20 to 25-year-olds of that group.
Yep.
So that puts it into Tribe. Now, at that point, Tribe uses our own AI, and it basically says, right, we need creators that have proven to be able to influence and engage 20 to 25-year-old girls in Australia.
Yep.
So what we will be able to do is we'll be able to map out every creator in our platform, and we'll be able to see who has an audience that has a high volume of 20 to 25-year-old females, right, that are highly active, etc., can show engagement, audience sizes, all these different things, shows that video content is the best using TikTok and Instagram.
Yep.
So we'll come back and we'll match those creators.
Yep.
Then those creators will actually be invited. They'll be able to see, based on the brand, who is probably just typed in, generate some example imagery of someone who is doing a sunrise on Bondi Beach, doing yoga, and it generates that. So they don't have to have any issues with copyright because they're not having to buy the stock footage.
Yep.
They put that in there as a bit of a brief. The creators all understand exactly what's required. The creators now go, I've got these great ideas. And rather than them necessarily they'll describe it to camera. Hey, I'm going to do this. Here's some examples. They themselves could potentially generate some imagery, send that back. The brand's going, right, that's great. They prove that. And then the creator goes out there, and when they shoot stuff, am I right in that they could use some programs to give 4 different edit variations?
Yeah, and you can produce scripts and all those sorts of things on top of, like, that my introduction to you was basically taking, your LinkedIn profile and a few other bits and pieces that I could collect about you and say, give me a 90-second or 30-second introduction that would do you justice and say this about my company and this is about me. And it will go and do that. So therefore you could say, okay, I need a 30-second video script for this product based on all this information that I'm feeding. So you're feeding stuff in, you're manipulating, and you're spitting out, you're generating that piece of content. So, and then, so the creators give them a final, and even if they're not using editing software to give a few variations like a 90-second, a 15-second, etc., the brand now has the rights to all of this content. And what they can do is they go, wow, here's 20 videos from these young yoga enthusiasts. I want to now create some mashups. Oh, yeah. So I want to re-edit and take an opening from that one, cut to that, that, and then I want to give me 10 different variations. Where I see AI being really powerful personally, yes, the generation is kind of nice. I certainly like it as part of the process, but not the outcome. I agree. Yeah. Like it is, as you say, guidance, mood board, inspiration. Yep. I think that stuff's really safe and really interesting. But I do like the idea, and where I'm most fascinated by it is the ability for social ads to go out and be able to inform you very quickly via how they performed, what is working and what isn't, bringing back insights. So if it goes out, here's 10 ads, and it realizes that the ones that open up in when the sun is already risen perform better than the ones that hasn't risen past the horizon because they're too dull. So for me, I don't think the technology is quite there, and I'm not a tech expert. But that's what I'm excited about. For sure. Like we're talking about, taking in video is a big thing right now. It's very early days. There's a thing called Sora that's just come out, which is creating amazing videos.
Yep.
You virtually can't tell the difference, but you can also feed video in to that GPT and then do new video out. So there's an example of a car driving along the road as the real video that goes in, and then you can say, make it snow, make it look like a Minecraft car, make it look like it's made out of Lego. And so that's where some of the ability. So if it's able to do that and take that and recreate that,
enhancing,
there's no reason why further down the track you can't drag that information out of the original video and say, well, at the time this person's doing that post, where is the sun in the sky? Those kinds of things. That's where, like, for me, that's exciting is where can this thing go?
I've always been amazed at how quickly consumers get used to something that's epic.
Yeah. Mainstream's grabbed onto this.
But it's that means it gets commoditized really quickly.
Yeah, everyone.
And so we get used to this stuff. Now, what happens, right? So I remember when these types of cameras, so we used to, at Getaway, traveled the globe and would take up they were like $160,000 beta cams. And then all of a sudden a DSLR would go out and we were able to film on that. And the depth of field was like, it was the equivalent of something that James Cameron would use for time. And so we were like, holy shit. Now we thought just based on that extra high production value that the world would open up and everyone would be amazed. People got used to it immediately.
Yep.
People just went, oh, that looks a bit nicer.
Do you remember the first time you saw 4K video on a big screen and thought it looked fake?
Yeah.
It was too real.
Yeah.
Now it's just like everything.
Exactly. So here's my point. Sora comes out and starts to do all this stuff. I want you to imagine that a guy's got a red helmet made out of knitted, and he's going through the snow and he's exploring whatever, which is one of the examples of Sora.
Yep.
People see that and go, wow. And that's the last time they say wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. We get used to it. Now, so this is where I come back to the fundamentals and I don't jump ahead because you think people are going to be wowed by that. Already being able to type in and say, I want to have, my dog do a backflip, in the air. Or I want my dog to look like it's wearing a suit or what sort of outfit would my dog wear if it was a human or whatever. We got used to that stuff so friggin' quick. We've already got used to it. So what remains? What remains in my world, in my opinion, this is why Gen AI is a really interesting one, is it's actually just human stories. And the human stories, even told in really bad ways with shit camera work, is still a human story.
But what if you take the reverse angle of what you're saying and people are getting used to it? So therefore, in your world right now, there are Gen AI avatars that are starting to sell products and do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
What if it gets to the point that those Gen AI avatars, we get blasé to them and just accept them that that's what they are, and then they start to do some of the influencer marketing? Like, could it work that way? Do you think, or do you think people are still going to want to have that human story being told by a human?
Look, there's been AI generated bot influencers for I'm going to say 5 years.
Okay. Yep.
So if you go online, there's loads. Like just type in virtual influencer, right?
Yep.
That you don't see them in your feed.
Yep.
Because no one gives a shit. I mean, the early adopters and, like KFC created Colonel, who is this cool young influencer, right? And they just generate all this stuff or get active, whatever it is. But my point is it just doesn't stick. It doesn't move you because at the bottom, at the end of the day, I think we need the emotional connection. And if it's just a robot telling you about stuff, then I just think it's like a web page.
What if it becomes so real and can start to do that emotion thing? What if that happened? What if we could
then
take Jules Lund?
We're all doomed.
or we could.
My point is, it can do all that sort of stuff. I agree. Like if it's a personality, but I think there's just, I'm not saying this as a defensive around generating huge video. My point is where I think it's amazing is real stories, real people having real moments, brand moments, right? Because the thing about a branded moment and what we're trying to just express is the idea that, how amazing that, I'm trying to think of an example. Oh, how amazing that these yoga mats are light and waterproof and actually are thick enough that you can put it down on, the area around rock pools.
Yep.
Now, a robot could talk about that, a bot thing,
Yeah.
oh, these are really good. But if someone went down there, do you know what? I thought I'd test out something different. I usually do it up on the grass. Look at where I am. I'm literally on the edge of Ben Buckler down in Bondi, and my mat is thick enough that it absorbs it and it's still flat. That's a real brand experience. And all you're doing is, as a storyteller, is like, I've just discovered something and I'm bringing it to life.
Gen AI can't do that.
That's what sells right now. Where I think Gen AI works is like, get all those different stories and see which ones sell. Now, that could only work on the coast. That doesn't work in places that doesn't have a beach. And so that video, what you want to start to do is, as I say, is it's testing and learning and figuring out the algorithms of the social media platforms, and it's recutting and it's putting different text on. And then it's like, hey, I'm going to put it in German and see if it works over there. Oh my God, we literally have sales leads coming from Germany so it's just, and it's changing languages, and it's, the mouth is moving. When she's talking, she's now speaking German. I think that gets really exciting.
Yeah, I do too. So, mate, like, it's not clear cut exactly how Gen AI could transform a business. I believe there are certainly elements in there.
Oh, huge amounts of element. And more and more will come to fruition. You've got to have a curiosity to it. Where I am reticent is to bet the house on certain parts of it. And I've watched how people have done it really brilliantly, and I'm actually happy not to be the first.
I think that's good, because I think you've done enough growth hacking in the past through all this. Like, you're probably over that sort of thing now, I reckon. But I think that's what we at the Innovate GPT group are doing right now, where we're trying to find those use cases where we can take a company that's maybe well established and that has got a customer base, hasn't really gone through the Gen AI boom or anything like that, and working out whether there is an angle. And as we were talking before, your whole business couldn't be transformed by Gen AI, but there are elements within that business where you could take that data on behalf of your brand or on behalf of your creators and help them to do better, because the whole thing around Gen AI is let the computers do the stuff that computers are good at. Huge data, crunching, analysis, insights, generate some stuff. Let the humans still be who they are and give them the time to do more of what they are good at. That, I think, is the crux of it all.
Amazing. Can you give me a bit of an idea, just because I am new to this space, Innovate GPT, what do you guys specialize in? What's your superpower?
Well, I think what we're sort of looking to do is take that leap with a use case into that private world. So everybody has got access to ChatGPT and can do all those amazing things, and it is totally amazing. The real power is when businesses start to look on the inside and take a look at their huge data sets that they've got and start to perform the similar types of functions, maybe in conjunction with public data, combining that. That's, for me, is where the real power is. So for me, as a creator, I can go and work with a brand who might need some training videos done, for example, and I need to know all about them. So what's their tone of voice? What's their branding? What's their this and what's their that? And what have they done in the past? I can crunch that up and create better scripts, or I can create better ideas about images to create for them, and those sorts of things where we're taking that the private installation, I suppose you would call it, and that to me is the real power. But before you get to that, you've got to understand the business. If there is an opportunity to create some gains, get some time back, those sorts of things by enabling some kind of a GPT within there.
It's amazing. So I think the matching piece can get more sophisticated, especially in our world. However, what I am curious about is it informing a good strategy.
Yeah.
So, for instance, for brands to say, I want them to go, here's our overarching marketing push. Mm-hmm. And it could be around, the future is female.
Yep.
For instance. So we're a brand and we're really heavily investing in female. So we've got all these big ideas. We can do the really sort of inspiring TV ad. We can do that. We're working with a creative agency. What's interesting is, like, I want you to go out there. If a brand is like, I want you to go out there and devise a creator strategy using all of our insights, being able to absorb all of our social posts, all of those creators that have posted for us through multiple campaigns and ad hoc and everything, measure exactly what our competitors are doing in that space with creators, seeing what works, and then sort of coming up with advice. Is that too much to ask?
No, I don't think so. I sort of think of it like, everything that goes into a company's annual report. Think of all the people that are involved in that. You've got, human resources, you've got finance, you've got risk, you've got, marketing. All of that is huge amounts of information that's been pulled together, manually a lot of the time from all disparate areas of data and systems and stuff, all coming together to produce this beautiful annual report. I kind of think of it as like that way, that I could create a better annual report in a faster way by using some of these tools to help do that crunching. That's kind of how I see it. And I think that's what you're sort of talking about here, is that is a way that you could create a better strategy by informing that with more bits of information. Maybe you could suck in everything you know about the brand that you're working in from there, the inside. You could source competitor information from other places around the globe on the web, pull that all together, get the creator's view, and then all of a sudden we've got this strategy that's taking into account all of these different points of view and does it really, really efficiently, so that you, as the person who's going to act upon those insights and that strategy, you can concentrate on the human element of doing that next step.
Here's, and I don't know if you can answer it now, but I can just leave it with you as we wrap this up, which is we have an enormous amount of data in our platform.
Yes.
So we have all of this incredible content that can be object and with object and image recognition. It can say, right, the content that is shot outdoors, the food that is shot outdoors performs 10% better than that. We've got all of this performance data. So, these products, beauty, when it's a 1-minute video that is talking to camera in TikTok, perform 30% better.
Yep.
We've just got huge amounts of creators and what their performance is, because we're able to ingest in all their performance data from all their posts, right?
Yep.
We're able to sort of collect all that. From a data point of view, and obviously we're not going to upload all of that to ChatGPT.
You would have your own private instance.
But in our own private instance, we would. What do you think we could do with all of that? What is our superpower? We've got, 8 years, more sponsored posts have gone through our platform, have been measured than any other platform on the planet in the branded content space.
That's huge. I think being able to ingest all of that information could set a new strategy for Tribe. That's how far I think it could be that, okay, don't worry about anything other than influencers who are 21 years old posting on TikTok at 9 a.m. Just being silly and diving into the weeds there, but you've got that much data and the human brain can only ingest so much and find insights. Crunching through a GPT tool, all of that data and saying, give me 10 insights that are going to change my business. Those types of big blue sky dreaming type ideas. I think that's where the power could be, because I know you've got a huge data set.
And is it super expensive to ingest?
Let's not worry about cost. I've got no idea. I'm in marketing. I don't worry about that sort of stuff. I know that there are, the big companies out there like Microsoft with their Azure cloud that do this sort of thing that, can house that data. And I think it's transformative. Just got to find that use case that it can really go into. There's one in just about every single business. Last question before we go. Would you create another startup?
Yeah.
Nice.
But
it hasn't hurt you too much.
Yeah, but I would.
Would Anna let you create another startup?
I'd do it so differently. And I certainly wouldn't call it a startup.
Fair enough.
Because that already gives me trauma.
Jules Lund, it's been great having you today. Just great catching up with you again, mate.
You too,
You're an absolute legend. Thanks for your help on this. Cheers. Good on you.